pounded by severe downpours. Southern Taiwan battles widespread flooding. Taiwan's military use phones found free of high-risk Chinese apps. Suspicious ships are lingering in sensitive waters. TaiwanPlus reporters investigate the vessels and the risks they may pose. Plus, the AI boom is a major boost for Taiwan's economy, but not everyone is benefiting from it. A warm welcome to TaiwanPlus News. I'm Tiffany Wong. Southern and eastern Taiwan are largely shuttered as floodwaters cut off roads and force evacuations. One historic monument has partly collapsed. John Ventrias reports.
An excavator stands amid the wind and rain in a rural corner of Kaohsiung trying to restore road access after days of intense flooding. It's not about the road. People are trapped. There are similar scenes across Taiwan South as the area is pounded by severe downpours. One Kaohsiung weather station recorded more than 900 millimeters of rain. The damage continues to mount, including a massive hole that opened up in this Kaohsiung road overnight.
昨天晚上12点就是有积水，有点下陷，那有周边的里面拿三角水下去，没想到那么严重。早上到6、7点的时候，整就下陷下去了。
An excavator sent to help fell in, and with damage to the roadbed so bad, a second piece of equipment sent to replace it almost got stuck too. Throughout the South, local governments shuttered schools and businesses Monday, but medical staff and rescue workers have been busy. In Tainan, flooding around a hospital forced firefighters to evacuate 200 patients by rubber dinghy. The damage extends to some of Taiwan's cultural heritage too. Part of Tainan's old city gate with 18th century roots has collapsed, even while the structure was under repair.
应该也是因为大雨长期造成的这样子的水的渗透。那么我们紧急处理的方式就是先请我们的建商做支撑避免它继续再坍滑。我们也会讨论说是不是还要增加哪些的一个支撑。
And it could get worse for the South before it gets better. With the exception of a slight reprieve Wednesday, rain is in the forecast through the end of the week. Wong and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The Defense Ministry says all its military-use cell phones are clear of high-risk Chinese apps. The ministry inspected nearly 3,000 official devices used by the military. It banned Chinese-made apps deemed a security threat earlier this year, including TikTok, WeChat, and RedNote. It also ordered all units to carry out inspections. The ministry says personal use phones will also be subject to regular and surprise inspections moving forward. Chinese apps are not formally banned on personal phones, but service members are encouraged to delete them to avoid data breaches. For more on this, our reporter Larry Ciano spoke to Zheng Yishuo, an associate research fellow from the Institute for National Defense and Security Research.
How effective do you think these regulations are at preventing these type of accidental data leaks?
The banning of the use of our download of Chinese app is of course necessary because you never know whether there will be either backdoors or there is already embedded backdoor. I think Taiwan's government has been performing the best practice, meaning they follow a very strict line. If people in the service, they use their personal device, but in the barrack, then they have to follow the certain restrictions to lock the camera and the video taping function, so that we will not have any confidential intelligence or CUI leak unintentionally. I think it is necessary for the government to issue the warning, the advice from time to time to remind people involved in security services that risk entailed.
You mentioned the potential for Chinese-made apps to have backdoors. How concerned are you with these apps potentially spying on users or transmitting data back to China?
Any a private provider of a kind of a platform or app service will have a similar mechanism to collect user behavior, jurisdiction, or under authoritarian jurisdiction makes a huge difference. Because your personal identifiable data, your footprint may be manipulated by authoritarian regime.
We've seen quite a few national security cases in the news in the past couple years. How do these regulations address those concerns?
Spy work, a spy job is another story, quite another story. And as you can see, as you can tell, that our spy incidents have been increased. I mean, the number of the exposure of our counterintelligence, which doesn't necessarily indicate the infiltration or the spy in by our adversary has been enhanced. From what I see, it's quite the opposite. It means to me that our counterintelligence has been doing quite a good job in recent years.
That was Zheng Yishuo from INDSR. Flags of convenience have become a growing concern in the Taiwan Strait in recent years, after an FOC damaged one of Taiwan's undersea cables. To better understand the risks these vessels pose, Cadence Caranta and Alan Liu spent months investigating waters around the country, especially a cluster of ships lingering off Taiwan's southwestern waters. This is part one of a special report about what they found.
The Taiwan Strait, one of the world's busiest shipping lanes. Movement is nearly constant, but then there's this spot, where that movement often seems to pause. For at least 4 months, there's been a large cluster of ships sitting off Taiwan's coast, many flying so-called flags of convenience, which can be exploited by vessels hoping to hide their activities or evade oversight. This is February, and May, and June, still there. And some of these ships could carry risks. In February, we noticed a large cluster of around 40 ships lingering in this area, and we started to check back on it regularly. We noticed that while the ships within this cluster do change, there's always a group of them here every day. And we started to put together a list of ships that we saw at some point lingering in this cluster from February to June. We've identified around 75 ships.
We use maritime tracking platforms Marine Traffic and Vessel Finder, as well as open source information to track their movement patterns, identities, and history. We'd also verify this information with maritime experts.
Through our research, we noticed some patterns that indicate some of these ships may not be what they seem. First, many are cargo ships or oil tankers. Normally, their job is to pick up cargo or oil in one place and deliver it somewhere else. But the ships we've identified don't always seem to do that. Over several months of tracking, some sat in the same area for extended periods of time. Others lingered around Taiwan or surrounding areas with no clear destination, or frequently traveled back and forth from the cluster.
Your job is to get that cargo from one place to another place. And so if you are, instead of doing that, if you are going and then you just sort of float about for a long time, and then you return to the same place you started and you never got to another port, then you have to wonder, what on earth has that ship just done? And you just see enough of these, particularly in this area along the southwest coast from this anchorage, you see enough of this where it really does make you wonder what many of these ships are really up to.
Many of these ships are registered in countries with open registries, which allow foreign-owned vessels to fly their flags, and often come with weaker oversight and lower costs, sometimes called flags of convenience, or FOCs. And the majority of these vessels have chosen FOCs found to have some of the poorest performance records. FOCs are common in global shipping, but can also be exploited for illicit activity.
Flags of convenience are often used by vessels that want to hide their activities in some way, whether it's illicit fishing or potential sabotage around subsea cables, is that it's going to make it more confusing for authorities basically look into the background of these vessels. And there's not going to be a lot of oversight or support from the flag state itself.
Taiwanese authorities have said ships flying FOCs impact the security of Taiwan's waters and ports, because lax regulations from their flag states mean some don't meet international safety standards. The government has also warned that some could be linked to gray zone activity against Taiwan. Other things also raise attention. 65 of the around 75 ships we've seen appear in this cluster are designated high risk by the Tokyo MOU, a regional port state control organization that ranks ships on things like the number of problems discovered during inspections and how many times they've been detained. The majority are 30 years old or older, and ships involved in illicit activity are often aging. 3 are linked to evasion of UN regulations on North Korea, either suspected of violating UN bans on the country or identified by a UN panel of experts as allegedly involved in transporting illicit oil there. 1 is barred from Taiwan's international commercial ports due to national security concerns. And 2 have come under scrutiny after sailing near Taiwan's undersea cables, digital lifelines for the country. They include this cargo ship, the Baoshun. The Financial Times reported it was on a blacklist of Chinese-owned ships flying FOCs that Taiwan closely tracks and was considered a threat to the country. Starboard Maritime Intelligence shows that in parts of 2024 and early 2025, the vessel sailed near areas where undersea cables lie. In early 2025, it was boarded and investigated twice by Taiwan's Coast Guard, which ordered it to move outside Taiwan's contiguous zone. Instead, later that year, it got a new name and a new flag, and under this modified identity, has continued to sail around Taiwan, including appearing several times in the cluster. The cargo ship Changshun was also spotted sailing in the area of undersea cables around last February, reported by local media and pointed out by Taiwan's ruling party. Amid scrutiny, the ship's identity quickly changed. It entered a Taiwanese port under a new name and a new flag, which it likely wasn't legitimately registered to because Sint Maarten doesn't have an international flag registry. Since then, there have been several more changes of its flag, name, or ownership. Analysts say this can be a tactic to make a ship harder to keep track of, helping obscure its activities. In recent months, it's continued to linger near Taiwan, appearing to spend much of its time in or near the cluster.
That was part 1 of a special TaiwanPlus report. In part 2, our reporters find out how Taiwan's Coast Guard responds to foreign flagged vessels that could threaten the country's undersea cables. Coming up after the break, a design change to Taipei's metro is sparking heated debate online. Find out why when we come back. I'm Tiffany Wong in the Rock Islands, Palau, and you're watching TaiwanPlus.
How does Taiwan stay on the forefront of innovation in a world of uncertain tariffs, wars, and shifting geopolitics? Get answers and more, from award-winning programs to exclusive Mandarin dramas. Download the TaiwanPlus app to any device today. No ads, no bias, just facts. TaiwanPlus.
Welcome back. You're watching TaiwanPlus News. Taipei's metro system has recently made some changes to the layout of its train interiors, but some people on the internet have taken issue, even saying they make it easier for China to invade Taiwan. Leslie Liao has more.
At first glance, it's just a change to the Taipei metro train's layout. Seats have been removed from the corner of a car, and so has a vertical pole used for holding onto. The Taipei Rapid Transit Corporation says it's for accessibility and that the design decision is in line with international trends.
多元友善空间的做法并非台北捷运公司独有，近年包括日本、韩国、新加坡等国际轨道运输系统都有相类似的空间规划。 其核心精神主要是提供轮椅、电动代步车、婴儿车、宠物推车以及大型行李等旅客的使用需求。
But the sudden change has some corners of the internet up in arms over what the true purpose might be. Social media shows that some people believe it removes obstacles so that hostile forces can better subdue the public. One post takes aim at Taipei City Mayor Jiang Wan'an, saying that this is an implicit effort to prevent citizens from escaping during a conflict.
那它的主要的目的，它就是想要制造那种集体的恐慌，然后就是把我们一般日常的这种民生交通设施啊，然后你可能就是利用我们可能两岸的因为这种地缘政治的关系比较紧张，然后利用这样子呢，把这种战争啊，就是这种强行做连结。
Taipei Metro officials have shot down the allegations. The company is urging people not to mislead the public. It says it's gathered evidence and has now ruled out legal action to get those involved to stop. This is not the first time when people online have drawn connections between city changes and a supposed plan to attack Taipei. Recently, when the city took down thousands of trees, people online started commenting that it makes the capital an easier target for drones. The Taipei Metro says that the changes are to accommodate growing passenger numbers, but for some, the changes are hard to swallow, particularly against the backdrop of other changes in the city. Scott Wong and Leslie Liao in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Prosecutors in Taiwan have indicted 9 people for smuggling high-end AI chips to China. The defendants include a senior manager at Nvidia's Taiwan branch and employees at Supermicro's office in New Taipei. Authorities say they worked together to export and hide the sale of over 100 servers to China that contained powerful Nvidia Blackwell GPUs. U.S. export controls strictly forbid the sale of those chips to China. Prosecutors are seeking jail time of up to 6 years on counts that include exporting the servers and embezzlement of over $1 million. One suspect remains at large. The AI boom is bringing huge benefits for parts of Taiwan's economy, but traditional industries say they're being left behind. The country's National Federation of Industries is urging the government to better support businesses facing a variety of challenges. Lily Lamatina was at their annual conference.
Taiwan cannot rely on AI alone. That's the message from the National Federation of Industries, which represents more than 150 domestic industry associations. The group says that AI is generating enormous wealth, but that traditional industries and their workers are not benefiting equally from the current economic boom. The Federation says government resources have become too concentrated in the semiconductor and IT sectors. It says traditional industries still form the backbone of Taiwan's economy. They are urging the government to provide more support for traditional industries through subsidies and other measures.
我建议他那个资金借给传统产业，传统产业赚钱还回来缴利息，还回来缴我们的这个税金，他又有利息收，双赢，这个对整个台湾来讲是非常正面的。
The group surveyed 161 member associations across 10 major industries. It identified 3 major challenges: labor shortages, industrial transformation, and energy constraints. It says mitigating the shortage of workers is of utmost concern. It encouraged the government to relax restrictions on hiring foreign workers and strengthen worker protections.
建议政府全面检讨及放宽引进限制，从载明管理转向全面对接的模式。 让所有面临缺工困境的产业能获得人力的补充。
Energy security is another concern. The Federation says a stable power supply is vital not only to traditional industries, but also to AI development. It says all types of energy, including nuclear energy, should be considered. For these businesses, the concern is not that semiconductors are too strong, but whether their success can pull other industries up rather than crowd them out. Ryan Wu and Lily Lamatina in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan's average life expectancy has rebounded to near pre-COVID-19 levels. Government data shows life expectancy rising to more than 81 years in 2025, recovering from a low of just under 80 in 2022. Women lived for 84 years on average, while men averaged nearly 78 years. By region, life expectancy was highest in the capital, Taipei, while rural Taidong had the lowest. Compared with United Nations figures, Taiwanese men and women live longer than the global average of around 73.5. Construction workers are now one of Taiwan's priorities for heat protection. That's as parts of the world swelter in recurring heat waves. Irene Lin has more.
An emergency team practices checking on road workers in a medical emergency. This is an annual drill for heat injuries on construction sites, where tens of thousands of workers toil under the sun for long hours. This year, Labor Minister Hong Shenghan put on gloves and a helmet to experience it for himself and promised to improve their working conditions.
我现在身上穿这样的风扇衣，未来能够更加的普遍，然后能够让劳工朋友都能够变成是一个必备的、基本的高温热危害工作的防护具。
To prevent heat-related medical emergencies, new cooling equipment has been introduced to high-temperature workplaces, including helmets and vests with built-in fans.
It's hot, about 34 degrees Celsius at this construction site, but this vest could provide a solution. Once I put it on and turn on the built-in fans, air flows around my body and I instantly feel much cooler.
One distributor of the cooling vest said it comes with a special design.
它主要的第一个，它有一个遮热的装置，它这是镀钛的，然后它在太阳下，大概可以有10度的温差。它主要的降温原理是把我们体表上面的水分然后透过风把它带走，然后顺便那个水变成水蒸气会吸热，这样子，那会降低热危害，还有热中暑。
Besides wearable cooling gear, firms have also rolled out a weather monitoring system powered by AI.
那我们会透过温度、湿度的感测器侦测到之后，我们会去显示我们的热危害指数，让我们的施工人员在远方就可以看到现在的工地的热危害等级，以及说重要的热危害3级以上，它会做广播的提醒。那广播内容除了中文，我们还可以符合现场的移工背景，越南文、印尼文、泰文、台语都可以。
The Labor Ministry says it is doubling down on assessments of protective measures at construction sites across the country.
那我们去年专案检查规划了230场次那实际上我们劳检绝对会超过这个场次我们去年做到277场次查核辅导改善的这个细致，我们会从这个去年的这个1500场次，我们今年提升到3000场次，现场看到缺失，马上请他改善，然后把改善的情形上传到我们的系统。
The ministry says while it expands inspection for heat protection at work, it says combating scorching temperatures in the country will require all hands on deck as the world enters a potentially hotter future. Joseph Wu and Irene Lin in Taoyuan for TaiwanPlus.
Extreme heat is changing the rhythm of farm life in Japan. Aichi has this story.
With one heat wave after another, Japan keeps shattering temperature record this year. The country's weather agency had to coin a new term to better warn the public about dangerous heat levels. The Kokushibi is a cruelly hot day, where temperatures reach 40 degrees Celsius. Amid this climate trend, farmers have taken to working after dark to avoid the scorching heat of the day. More than 100 kilometers north of Tokyo, flower farmer Ijima Motoaki now takes to his fields only after the sun goes down.
We were concerned about our workers' physical safety and even their lives, since temperatures are rising every year, so we decided to switch to harvesting and doing other tasks at night. We've gradually become nocturnal. It's about protecting our bodies and ultimately our lives.
He made the drastic change 3 summers ago after a part-time worker suffered heat stroke picking sunflowers in his greenhouse. It's become a life and death matter, especially given the average age of farmers in the country. Around 70% of farmers in Japan are 65 or older, and more susceptible to heat stress, especially in Japan's humid climate. About an hour's drive away, poultry farmer Usuba Tezuya is also turning to night operations after a huge loss of livestock in 2020.
The temperature was very hot and more than 500 chickens died in this shed and the next one over. Chickens don't tend to eat when it's hot, so what we're doing is we wake the chickens up when it's cooler during the night and get them to eat then.
The amount of working hours lost to heat translates to nearly 1% of GDP. The government's taken action, introducing new regulations requiring employers to set up heat stroke response and reporting procedures. The country is also promoting smart farming technology such as drones and robots to reduce workers' heat exposure. While government initiatives in smart tech take time to scale up, Japanese farmers are holding the line after the sun goes down. Alex Chen, Tat Chen, and IT for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching TaiwanPlus News. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, take a look at Kenyan anime fans gathering and cosplaying as their favorite characters. I'm Tiffany Wong. Take care and see you next time.